Well, the talk of the week has been about the guy you just saw, Willson Contreras. The Cardinals signed him to be their long-term catcher, but now they don't want him to catch, at least right now. I sat down with our Cardinals insider to break down the situation and way forward. We now welcome in our Cardinals insider, the Athletics' Katie Woo, to talk about the current state of the Cardinals. We got to start with that catching elephant in the room, the Willson Contreras situation. You've been on this from the start. Let's go back to the start. What was really the tipping point for this whole thing that started?
Well, Corey, I'm not sure the Cardinals and Willson Contreras had a tipping point. I think that this was more or less a precautionary move, though it seems reactionary. There just needs to be better communication on all sides. So it certainly looks like an indictment on Willson Contreras. It certainly does not look good for the Cardinals, especially when you go out and you pledge nearly $88 million to your starting catcher for the next 5 years, just to say he's no longer starting behind the plate 5 weeks into that deal.
You reported on a meeting with Willson and Adam Wainwright and Jack Flaherty to kind of talk things over. How important do you think that meeting was going forward?
I think it was super important. Obviously, the timing for this announcement came right before Willson Contreras was set to go back to Wrigley Field for the first time since the Cubs elected not to re-sign him in free agency, citing, of course, defensive concerns behind the plate. So the overall timing was just not great for Willson. I think he felt pretty low and disappointed, and I totally understand that. So for Ollie Marmol, because it was his idea, he's the one who saw Willson, not his true leadership self, go out and say, hey, Wainwright, the patented leader of this rotation, and hey, Jack, the two longest tenured members of that starting rotation, let's get a meeting of the minds here and make sure we're all on the same page. All four parties left with such a better understanding of each other and the situation.
If Willson isn't the primary catcher, that's a wrinkle in the plans. How is this resolved? Because it kind of changes everything else about how you play your team with Nolan Gorman, Brendan Donovan. It sends a huge ripple effect.
Nolan Gorman leads the team in home runs. He's been their most consistent hitter since the start of the year. He was their primary DH. The Cardinals can't justify to take Gorman out of the lineup, so they moved him to the starting second baseman, with Contreras taking the most of DH at bats. Where does that leave Brendan Donovan, Tommy Edman, Paul DeYoung, who has looked really good since making his season debut coming off the injured list with the back injury? Brendan Donovan will now play left field in an effort to get him in the game, which makes the outfield a little bit more congested as well. So it has this trickle-down effect. It's why there was, again, a big part in that public backlash for this decision was that it didn't really make sense from a roster move for the Cardinals either.